I'm going to be showing you how to compare two signals which are about the same size. You can see on channel 1 I've got this yellow signal, and on channel 2 I've got the blue signal. They're displaced from each other. Their zeros are displaced from each other. But if I move them to have approximately the same zero, you can see that they're almost the same size. And it's rather difficult to determine the difference between those two signals. So how do we do this? Well, the first thing to do is to make sure that the signals are blown up so that they take as a large fraction of the screen. You want them to be on the screen, so you don't want it to look like this, but a large fraction of the screen for both of these signals. Another thing that's important to do is to make sure that you have auxiliary triggering set up. So you've got the trigger from the signal generator coming in and going into here. That makes sure that these traces over here are of a very uniform quality. Anyway, so now we have our two signals on the screen. How do we get them to tell the difference between those two signals? The oscilloscope has a subtraction mode, which is easy to use. You get there by hitting the math menu, M, and the dual waveform math. And this allows you to subtract channel A from channel B. Actually, at the moment we've got it set to add those two channels, but by pushing this button we can subtract them, or we can multiply them together actually, but the operation that we want is subtract. And we get this signal over here. So let me shut that down. It's a small signal, and so it turns out we can blow that signal up. That's a little bit too much perhaps. Blow it up to this size. And now you can see everything's on the screen. It's confusing because there's three traces on the screen. It's okay at this point to turn off channel 1 and channel 2. It's still going to do the subtraction operation properly. And now you see you've got a signal on the screen. It's kind of noisy, it's jumping up, and it's showing quantization steps, these little steps here, because it's this difference between two large signals. We can get rid of all of that by putting this mode. So I'm just going to turn averaging on, and you'll see that that signal now cleans up to be a nice clean signal. And then finally, I can set up measurements on this signal. So I go to the measure menu. Let's actually remove all of the measurements that were already there and then add a measurement in. What I'd like to do is to get the size of that signal. So scope down, move down to here. And remember, you don't want the peak to peak. That's susceptible to noise. You want to use the amplitude trace, and we'll add that measurement in. And we added that measurement in and turn on menu off. And now we've got a fairly clean measurement of the difference between channel 1 and channel 2 on this red trace. And the difference between those two things turns out to be about 2.77 volts.